Morning everyone. So thank you for the introduction, Andy. My name's Phil with Forseti Training. First off, a little bit about the name. Everyone always asks about the name, they have a bit of struggles with that. Forseti is the Norse god of justice and fairness. The way I look at things is in a just and fair world, everything would run smoothly. Okay? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give people the ability to make their world just and fair. We have a mission statement at Forseti which is quite clear. Safer for staff, safer for customers, safer for everyone. Through knowledge and equipment, we can, we will, we must. So what do we mean by that? Our goal is to make everything safer. So staff should be able to go to work knowing full well that they are in the safest environment possible. Customers should be able to visit your venues, should be able to come and actually see you, enjoy your time there, and actually know that their safety is of your importance. And overall, even passers-by that are walking past venues should know that the equipment is out there and the abilities are out there to make everywhere safer. And that comes about through two things, through knowledge and equipment. The knowledge to know what to do and when to do it, and the equipment to actually be able to do it in the first place. And the last part, we can, we will, we must. I was listening to a motivational speech not long ago, and he turned around and he said, every morning the guy wakes up and the first thing he says to himself is, I can, I will, I must. So I can succeed, I will succeed, I must succeed. And it struck a chord with me. And for me, I was kind of thinking about what we do, the equipment we do, and the environment that we're looking at. And I was like, we can make a difference. We can make the world a safer place. Even if it's just the local corner where I live and whatnot, I will do what I can to make that world safer. I was myself, I will do it. There are days when I question what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So to reiterate to myself, it's we will make a difference. By continuing along our path, we will make that difference that we want to see in the world. And lastly, we must. Martin's Law is coming about because of tragic events. But should we need tragic events to push us forward and to do what we know is right, to put the training and equipment out there that can make a difference, not just in terror events, but in everyday events, workplace accidents, and certainly in the nighttime economy when we're looking at so many incidents that can happen there. So why do I feel passionate about this? I've grown up in the security industry for nearly enough 30 years now. Headlines like those seen from Manchester, 19 dead, people lying on the floor, unattended, okay? People not knowing what they're doing. A nightclub in my neck of the woods where shortly after they opened, someone walked in and stabbed multiple people several times. The door staff done an amazing job in trying to actually stem those injuries, but they didn't have the training possible, or the equipment possible to make the difference. Luckily, no one died. However, it was more to do with the fact that there was a first responder on scene within a few minutes. Not long ago, up in London, at a fireworks display, a teenager was stabbed in a crowd of thousands. No one knows why. We can't forget that people will target areas where we least expect it. I don't think there's anyone that could have thought that we would be talking about a dance studio full of toddlers and young children being attacked by someone with the intent of causing terror. So we're looking at Martin's Law. We know why we're doing things, but how is Martin's Law shaping up? So first off, we're looking at NACSO training. NACSO is the National Anti-Counter-Terrorism Unit. They have produced free training which is available to anyone online. If you're struggling to find the link, you can go onto our website, there's a link on there, and it comes in 3 flavours. Those flavours are blue, orange and green, okay? Blue is your everyday, everyone can do that. You can go online from your shop worker to your pub barmaid, okay? Anyone can go online. And it focuses on the principles of run, hide and tell. It sounds simple, but why do we train on it? Because when things go wrong, people forget the simple things. For those of you who are old enough to remember the Bradford fire, there was a video of a gentleman, okay, who sat in the stand while it was on fire and he caught fire. Now he survived, and afterwards they turned around and said to him, why didn't you leave? He said, no one told me to. We panic in these times, and this training hopefully will put into perspective the people the skills that they need in order to make that difference. The orange training is a required mandate by the SIA that all security operatives must undergo. Okay? As a trainer, okay, we have to cover off these every 12 months to make sure we're still relevant. And then for those of you that are not familiar with it, there is now a green NACSO training as well, and this is for education settings, for people that work in schools, teachers, teaching assistants and everything else. And again, highlighting the dangers that we're facing in our schools. If you turn around to ask most schools, are you under a risk assessment for terror, someone said, no one's going to attack children. It's a bit of a no-no. We now know they will. And that brings us on to the SIA, first aid training. Now, at the moment, the draft legislation with Martin's Law does not mention first aid. It says proportionate measures. However, what is to be noted is that both the Select Committee and Feig and Murray have both turned around and said that they want life-saving skills inserted into that law. The life-saving skills could be in the mandate of the Emergency First Aid at Work qualification, the lowest recognised Ofsted qualification for first aid. And it just gives people the ability to control resuscitation, critical bleeds, and the recovery position. Okay? But it's interesting keeping a note on that the equipment-wise, at the moment, there is no mandate for any equipment. Okay? In the standard tier, there is no mandate. But the SIA have been appointed as a regulator for Martin's Law and to ensure its enforcement. And what that's shaping up for us is if you are to undertake the new security training, the SIA have stipulated that your first aid certificate must contain critical bleed training, including the use of hemostats and tourniquets and wound packing. Now, why would the regulator for Martin's Law insist that the biggest group of operatives that can make a difference have that training if we weren't expecting that equipment to come in some form or another as mandated across the board? Okay. All right, so it's worth keeping an eye on that one with the SIA because we don't know exactly where that's going to land. Okay. I was saying there, they've been assigned as a regulatory body, and the first aid training, okay, must contain critical bleeds for security operatives. So it really is worth taking that on board. Okay. So the first aid training covers off the knowledge part, what we're talking about, knowledge and equipment. But what about the equipment? What is so special about critical bleed training? Critical bleed training focuses on the use of hemostats and tourniquets. Now, in regards to tourniquets, they're not a new item. There are some new tourniquets out there that can be applied with one hand in under 60 seconds. And I know, because I've had a play with it, it is an amazing bit of kit, but it is still early days for that. And we are talking to people about perhaps including it within our equipment anyway. But tourniquets themselves, people are worried when they use a tourniquet. Okay, I just want to dispel a couple of myths. Number one, if you put a tourniquet on someone, it stays on. We don't remove it, paramedics don't remove it, and A&E departments don't remove it. Okay? Doctors will remove it when they are ready. Okay? Once it goes on, it stays on. Now that causes people to believe if you put a tourniquet on, that person is going to lose that limb. Okay? It's not true. Okay? In a study that they've done based on the conflicts from Afghan and Iraq up to 2015, there was no known incident of a critical bleed where a tourniquet was used that resulted in loss of limb from the application of the tourniquet. What we're saying is, whether we'd applied the tourniquet or not, that limb was lost. Okay? But interestingly, that same study did highlight that when there was a critical bleed in a compressible area, so a compressible area, we were talking the limbs, talking arms and legs, there was a 92% survival rate when a tourniquet was used. Okay. Does anyone want to guess what the survival rate was when no tourniquet was used? 0. When there was a critical bleed situation, a tourniquet was not used in a compressible area, there was a 0 survivability. Tourniquets are a critical life-saving piece of equipment, and we need to demystify them and actually have people comfortable using them. Okay? Next bit of equipment we're going to talk about very quickly is defibrillators. Defibrillator technology is moving at a pace. probably in the next 5 to 10 years, you are going to be plugging pads into your phone and using your phone as a portable defibrillator. Okay? There are a lot of new defibrillators coming to the market, and there are some that are very cost effective, okay? And we hope to be talking about those more in the future. The hemostatic dressings. This is the big one for us. So for any of you that have seen the old war films and everything else, hemostatic dressings are normally that white powder that you see people pouring into wounds and everything else. They are made from a substance called chitosan, which is crushed up prawn shells. And the way they work, okay, is they're non-biodegradable, but they put into the hole, they mix with the blood, and they form a block. Okay? The unfortunate thing is, we have the trauma of the incident, we have the trauma of inserting these powders or these gauzes, and then we have the trauma, because they're non-biodegradable, they have to be surgically cut back out. Okay, if you've ever seen a hemostat that uses chitosan that goes hard, okay, after it's been in a wound, it's very sharp and very solid. The new generation of hemostats are cellulose-based, and the one that we shout about a lot is wound clot. The difference with wound clot to the other cellulose-based hemostats is the fact that what you can do is you can take the hemostatic patch and literally, if you've got a cut on the arm, take the patch and slap it on top. Hold it for a couple of minutes, and it will react with the blood while sticking to the skin, but not sticking to the blood, and it will form a gel-like structure over the wound, much like a burn plaster, okay, and it will hold an arterial bleed for up to 30 minutes. So what that does is it turns the dressings you have in a first aid kit into bandages now. So we use trauma dressings in critical bleeds, okay, so they maintain pressure and they'll be able to suck up a lot of blood. With wound clot as a hemostat, with a smaller critical bleed, you can literally cover it and then use a standard first aid dressing just to cover that, just to keep it safe, make sure no one knocks it and disturbs it. Okay? So hemostatic dressings, with wound clot and the other cellulose ones, you can still push them inside the wounds as well. With that, because they're cellulose based, if it turns out it is not a critical bleed, and if anyone's ever cut their finger in the kitchen at home, okay, you get a little cut, okay, you seem to get blood everywhere. Everywhere you turn, you've got blood. You've probably lost about 5 millilitres of blood. Okay? With a critical bleed, we're looking at losing up to 2 litres of blood in under 4 minutes. Okay? So there's going to be plenty of blood around for the hemostat to work with. And what it does, it forms that gel structure, but because it's cellulose base, if it is non-critical and you've mistaken it and you've packed that wound, okay, it doesn't need to be taken out. Okay? The surgeons can literally just seal the wound up, okay, stitch it up and leave the dressing in the plug in place. And if they do need to remove it, rather than cut it out, all they have to do is flush it with saline solution. So that brings us on to our equipment. So what we have developed is our guided response kit. We call them grip kits. I love an acronym. It makes it nice and easy. Okay? However, don't search grip kit on the internet yet because we're not that big yet. And all you'll do is find the builder's grip tubes for sale. I think we're on about page 3 of a grip search at the moment. Okay? The reason I come up with these was, as a first aider, I was fed up with running to incidents and not having everything I needed. I'm having to grab a first aid kit, grab a defib, grab this, grab that. By the time you're getting up there, you're walking around, you're kind of like dropping on the floor. And then you've got to work out what you want from everything. As a first aider, I want one bag that I can grab and go. It contains everything: my defib, my trauma bleed kit, my burns capabilities, pocket mask, extra gloves, first aid kit. Everything I need is in one simple solution to carry and organise. So in here we have the contents, okay, and if you come over to me afterwards, okay, you can have a look through a full kit. I've even got some little samples of some hemostats you can have a little play with. And from our grip kit, okay, we have our trauma bleed kit. So these were designed, they're our first support of equipment. And again, it was looking at, as a first aider, what do I want if I'm going to deal with a critical bleed in a situation, primarily looking at nighttime economy, that type of thing. So I put in there the levels of items that I would need. Okay, so this kit is designed that you can take this to a situation without a first aid kit and you will still be able to deal with your critical bleeds. Okay, so there's gloves in there, there's dressings in there. Okay, we've got biohazard disposal bags, something that a lot of people miss off from their first aid kits. Bear in mind, all waste from a first aid incident should go off to be incinerated. Okay, and I also have in there Fox chest seals. You can come over to me afterwards and you can actually talk to me about the Fox chest seals. They're a wonderful bit of kit. There's no official training for them out there yet. However, there are certain things about them, okay, that we can talk about and everything else. So between this and the grip kits, we're offering a solution for people of everything that they can do to protect themselves in the venues. Okay? Any questions? Come over to my table. My time is up, unfortunately, and we can go through that more then. Thank you very much.